Hello, everybody. Welcome to WF Creations, a division of My Willow Farms. So we are Willow Farms Creations, and today we are working on breast milk jewelry. So people want to know how this whole thing works. Basically, I get the milk from the mother that would like to do the preservation process, and it gets cooked down into a double boiler and in a double boiler, and then it gets spread onto a piece of parchment paper after I have added some preserving ingredients, which I made up because I think that they keep the recipe for that preservation powder under lock and key like Fort Knox. So I just experimented. I had some donors that were kind enough to give me samples to play with in exchange for a couple of free pieces. So I figured out my recipe to make it work and waited a couple of weeks in between to make sure that we didn't have any problems with molding or with anything breaking down. And so far, so good. So when I get done with spreading it on the parchment paper, it dries for a couple, 3 days, depending on the humidity in the rooms, of course. And then when it's dried, it is ready to be broken up. And then it goes into the mortar and pestle to be ground by hand. What I'm doing here is I'm getting a light ready behind that box to be able to cure a piece when I get done with it further, because in between I do with a little pen UV light just to get it to where I can start with the next layer. So what I'm doing right now is I'm breaking this down on the parchment paper, and it will be extremely hard when I get done with it. Sometimes I can get it to grind down to a super fine powder, and other times not so much. This time, on this particular one for Talia, this one was, it was pretty hard. So I did speed up the grind down on this. I keep this piece of paper at my workstation, so I know exactly who I'm working on and the dates and times and everything that the milk was put onto the parchment paper. And I start grinding this, and we're going to speed all of this up in here. It was probably close to 10 minutes worth of grinding. I break it into the smaller pieces first, and then to where it's just small chunks, and then actually get to working on the breaking it down into a fine powder dust so that I can use it with an epoxy. Again, I only work on one person's piece at a time. So that means if I'm doing breast milk jewelry, I'm doing breast milk jewelry. I'm working on that one person's piece. I'm not going to switch up and start a cremation project or anything like that when I'm in the middle of doing a breastfeeding piece or a breast milk piece. So again, I am just grinding and grinding this until we get a super fine powder. And then once I do, I will be able to split it into cups, depending on how the mom wants it. If she wants it to be as a raw look, which is just the clear UV resin and the dust from doing this, or if she would like mica powder added to it. All the rage right now is the pearlescent mica powder, and it's a super fine white, sparkly, glittery, gorgeous white powder, and it is what she decided to do with this, and we did it in a half and half. So half of it will end up being just the raw breast milk set into resin, and the other half of the piece is going to be the mica powder at the top. And I am usually lucky enough to get all of you great customers that will allow me to have a little bit of artistic freedom on doing these things. And you'll see why at the end of this video. On that black piece that is on the table, the process that I decided to do with it. But this silver teardrop here that you see, this is about to turn into something really gorgeous. And I am super happy with the outcome of it, and the photo shoot that I did, which I'm sure at the very beginning of this video you saw the photos of the finished pieces for Talia's work. And I also have a video out there of some jewelry that I did for Laura out of Kentucky, and her pieces are beautiful. She opted for the 925 Sterling, and then I sent her a little bonus piece because I'm not about to get rid of this once I get it all ground down, and if I still have epoxy sitting there in a cup. And then I have some other cool little pieces that I do to go along with your order, that are shaped like a little crystal stone, things like that, that they sort of go along for the ride. I do not waste anything, whether it's breast milk or cremation. You'll end up with a bonus piece, or you'll end up with a bonus little stone or something, and then you do receive all of the leftover powder that I didn't use. A little bit goes a long way with this, and you will receive that powder back so that if you decided to do a piece in the future, you will be all ready to go. It'll cut some of the price off your piece because I'm not doing all this extra labor, and there will be plenty left for you to do 2, 3, 4 or more pieces, even if you wanted to experiment on your own. Using a resin mold. They do have silicone molds and the jewelry pieces to where you can do this yourself. I guess I don't want to say I don't like molds, but I like to say that everything that I make is done freehand. So that being said, it is the epoxy resin is a liquid, so it is not really forgiving. So you have to watch for runs and drips and things like that. And you have to also make sure that it doesn't run over, because it is near impossible to get off once it has been cured. So I thought I had sped this up, but it's not looking like it. You're actually getting to see the whole thing. This is pretty exciting. I'm going to take a quick little break here while you're looking at how this is getting done. The magic of video editing. All right, so we are still grinding this down. The breast milk jewelry is super labor intensive compared to cremation jewelry, where you get the kit and send it back and I'm ready to make your piece. With the breast milk jewelry, we have so many days in between with it drying out and making sure that the recipe was done right and everything. So as you can see here, we're separating out into 2 different cups. One is going to have mica powder in it, and the other is going to be just the pure breast milk powder and resin. So you will see also, even though I'm using a super lot in each of those, there's a ton left in that pestle and mortar set there. So you will definitely be able to make more pieces, which I find really exciting. And you get it back in a cute little glass jar. And as I said, you can either make those pieces yourself, or you can send me that little jar back and I will make you something else. So this is the mica powder going in, and it's super, super, super fine glitter. And it gives it that pearlescent look that you see with the Breastmilk jewelry. And again, I do keep that piece of parchment paper in front of me so I know whose job I am doing here, whose piece it is. And here we go. We are beginning the teardrop piece, which is the blend of the two different kinds. The bottom being the raw clear at the bottom of the teardrop, and the top having the resin. And you do have to cure it from both sides. You do not want anything inside of there. You don't want any extra air inside. You want all that squeezed out. So I do use a toothpick to pop any bubbles that I might get. Again, this has both kinds of the breast milk in it. And I think it came out really pretty. It's a really neat division of the milk here. So Miss Talia, that piece went under the light to cure for 5 minutes at a time instead of just this quick cure. This one I found to be a little boring. So the piece that it's sitting in is gorgeous. So I chose rose crystal to go around the edge to make it sort of stand out. And as most of us know, rose crystal is one of the signs of love. And then I went through the bag and found amethyst, because I found out this is a daughter and she has a February birthday, and amethyst is the birthstone. So I added the rose quartz and the amethyst down the center to jazz it up a little bit. Again, having some of that artistic freedom on working on these pieces is so fun, because I do get to know a little bit more about what I'm working with here. And as I said, it's her daughter. So the colors work really well together with the purple and the pink, and then the pearlescent and the raw backgrounds are both in here. So I'm showing this to you now against the white so that you're able to see the actual color of the stones better. The back of this setting is hollow. So I am now touching up this first piece again and checking for any little bumps, any dips in the resin, and if I see any imperfections, and I go in and try and fix them, being that every single piece is made by hand and every single piece is completely custom. There will be minor imperfections. It's, we're all human, but I pour the same amount of love into every single piece that I make, and I am sure that you will cherish it for years to come. So again, we're going back under the light. Now these are those little stones I was talking about. So I had leftover resin. So what I'm doing is popping those into those small crystal stones, and then we will get it set up, and she'll have a couple of neat little pieces. And there is the leftover going into its jar, and this jar will go back to you along with your pieces. It's all capped up nice and closed securely, and then we put your name on it so that, again, it doesn't get mixed up. So for the next hour or so, these will sit under a light so that they become super hard. And when they are finished, I will put on some jump rings, and we are off to the races, as my dad would have said. And we will have the finished piece of jewelry. So thanks for stopping by. Willow Farms Creations thanks you.